Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed, myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is Tuesday, and customarily, we have the Blueprint Power Hour, which will follow shortly with my co-host, Coach Rob Regish, where we answer your questions, and nothing is off topic. We really mean that when we say that. We answer absurd questions. If you want to call me a jerk, this is the time to do it. And we talk about everything from training, nutrition, supplements, drugs, and we talk about stuff that nobody talks about on this show. I don't think there's another Q&A out there that covers the depth and breadth of information that we do here on this show. And we hope that you share the show and let other people know that the show exists. Before we get started, of course, we have to thank our title sponsor, and that is Legendary Foods. Legendary Foods started out trying to create or recreate the Pop-Tart. And what it has become is so much more. It's so much more that I'm getting messages from people saying they're out of stock. Everything is out of stock. And it doesn't surprise me because once you taste a tasty pastry, you will never want your home to be without them because they are the single best snack that will keep you in your dietary lane. 20 grams of high quality protein, less than 1 gram of sugar, 5 grams of net carbs, if you're a net carb person, and you'll love them because they taste like you're cheating, but you're not. The flavors are amazing. Blueberry, strawberry, chocolate cake, hot fudge sundae, birthday cake, red velvet cake. I mean, the list goes on and on. I didn't know this, but brown sugar cinnamon is the single most popular Pop-Tart and apparently tasty pastry as well. If you go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary, you use the code SHR10, you'll save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. And don't forget, there's other things at Legendary Foods. They have flavored nut butters. They have seasoned almonds. They have lots of great stuff. And if you want, just listen for the secret word during the commercial break. Email that secret word to onair@superhumanradio.net. Include your mailing address, and we'll send you a free box. And I'll give you a clue. Today, it's not just one word. It's actually 2 words. So listen hard during the commercial break. Now, without further delay, bring my co-host on, get all the graphics set up, play his theme music.
Calling all Blueprint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the Blueprint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
Hey, Rob, how you doing, man?
I am doing well. It is 96 degrees and feels like 104 up here in the great Northeast. Yeah. So, hopefully you're cooler. I can confirm, by the way, what you just said about the strawberry tasty pastry. Finally had it. It's just incredible. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how they're doing it. I wish I could buy stock in them as a company. It's that good.
You know what's really funny? When Ron Penna and his consortium of partners and workers started Quest Nutrition, there's a man in my town here that is a good friend of mine. his father started Humana.
Wow.
You know who Humana, the insurance company.
Yeah.
They owned nursing homes all over the Midwest, and so they decided to self-insure, and they created an insurance company that ultimately became Humana. And so these people are very, very, very wealthy and very intelligent. They understand the stock market. He would ask me every week, "Is Quest looking for investors? Is Quest looking for investors?"
Jeez.
And the same thing is happening now with Legendary. I have people who say, "Are they a public company? Can I buy stock in them?" Because everybody sees it. They're like, "Oh my God, this is," when you see something that oh my God, this is going to be big. You're like right away. You want to, hey, can I invest? Can I get in the ground floor? Is this like Apple, like back in the day when they're in the dark, they can invest and ride it all the way to the top? And I'm telling you, Legendary Foods is that. I am aware of things that Legendary Foods is going to be introducing soon that will leave the rest of the sports nutrition slash healthy snack products so far like in the back that they're going to go, gee, should we even compete? Maybe we should just close up shop. I mean, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. The tasty pastries have become so popular. You don't hear about the nut butters, which are incredibly good.
I know. How does that? I mean, it dwarfs the nut butters. Oh, right. And by the way, to those of you in Canada, in August, right around the corner, you'll be able to get tasty pastries in Canada.
Wow.
In August.
Fantastic.
Very exciting. Hey, Dave Hartnett, how you doing? Dave says hello. Robert David says hello. Oh, look who's here from South Africa. Andre Klinhans. He says, hey, Carl and Coach Rob, looking forward to today's show. And we're glad you're here. We're glad you're here.
Thoughts go out to Carrie, too.
Yes. Okay, so now our first question comes from Mike Dorville. And by the way, if you're watching live on Facebook or YouTube, post your questions. We will get to them in today's show, I promise. They will get answered. If you can't stay long enough to hear them answered live, you can come back later and listen to your question. Mike Dorville says, what's the story on nitric oxide or NO2 type products? They used to be all the rage, but now I don't see them as much. Real funny question. Over the weekend on Facebook, someone said, does anybody, it was in another group, like the Fitness Over 50 group or something, does anyone use nitric oxide? And I thought, I can't even begin to explain how wrong that question is. But, does anybody use nitric oxide?
Well, the product has an interesting history. So the year was 1996. A fellow by the name of Ed Bird had just parted ways with Anthony Almada. And together, they were the ones that started EAS before Bill Phillips bought them. But at this point, Bird separates himself and he starts a new company, MRI, in San Francisco. And soon afterwards, they roll out the original NO2. It was nothing elaborate. As a matter of fact, I remember looking at the label thinking, that's it? It was arginine alpha ketoglutarate in a hard shell pill with some binders and fillers, allegedly to give it some time release effect. And while it's true that it was better, or certainly more palatable than straight arginine, you know what I'm saying if you've ever tried it, it was arguable whether it actually worked better. So, and the price, oh my God, at the time, a 30-day supply was going for $70 to $80. I remember seeing it for $70 in my local health food store, and people were buying it. By the year 2000, MRI was reportedly worth over $125 million. So I would tell you their advertising was a lot more effective than their product. Did it give you a better pump during training? Marginally, I would say. I mean, we're not talking about like steroid-like pumps here. And from the beginning, I considered it an entirely cosmetic product. Nobody I ever knew, which is to say, nobody I ever knew grew any significant amounts of muscle with, a salt of arginine. It's fair to say, I think, that 20 years later, NO2 has had its run. It's still out there today, okay? But it is far, far less prominent than it used to be. NO2 was one of the last products that the magazines were able to pump up. And shortly after, those magazines disappeared. Today you will find better pump ingredients, things like Norvaline and agmatine, but none of them are, if you'll notice, not many anyway, are sold solo. They always seem to be part of a pre-workout or other formula. The exception may be L-citrulline, right? We've talked about that before on the show. Citrulline is shaping up to have some very interesting properties beyond just, giving you better pumps and nitric oxide, so to speak. In any case, I always thought the best pumps could be had with what I'll call a permissive amount of insulin and lots of water. And you can accomplish that by consuming, a small to medium-sized carb-based, meal, or use a pre-workout that has some carbs in it. If you're going to use carbs in truly intra-workout, though, I would opt for high molecular weight modified starches. These are also known in some circles as highly branched cyclic dextrins, not cyclodextrins, cyclic dextrins. And you sip on it during and immediately after the workout. So, and which is effective. I mean, I did the glucometer readings 12 years ago now, and it worked, and it worked really well. Alternatively, bodybuilders have been known to use 50 to 100 milligrams of Ephil to enhance their pumps during training. I mention that only because
you broke up 50 to 100 milligrams of what?
Viagra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or sildenafil, the generic, to enhance pumps in the gym. And I mention that only because it's come off. Before it was absurdly expensive. Since then, it's come off label. Most doctors can prescribe it for ED, not for bodybuilding purposes, but they can prescribe it for around $1 a pill.
Well, but they shouldn't prescribe it for bodybuilding because it's ineffective at raising muscle nitric oxide. Okay, there's only certain tissue that PDE5 inhibitors stimulate the production of nitric oxide. It just happens to be that tissue is in the penis, in the nostrils, and in the large aorta of the heart. And so you're not going to get an increased pump in your biceps if you're taking Viagra. You're lying to yourself, and you know this. You know that you don't get much more of a pump that you can notice. It doesn't work on that tissue. It just doesn't. It's foolish to take it.
Yeah, interesting stuff. No question. Overall, I would tell you NO2 products, they get a big thumbs down from me. I consider it, if they work at all, they're more of a cosmetic. I don't think they enhance performance. I don't think they accelerate muscle growth or fat loss. And, they're not the cheapest things in the world. Too much emphasis on the cosmetic, not enough on building real muscle for my money.
There's a study out of the University of Kentucky from back in 2007, maybe around there, that showed that taking arginine alpha ketoglutarate in large enough doses where it actually produces an increased nitric oxide response in muscle impairs contractile force of the muscle by derailing calcium channel efflux.
There you go.
So what this means is, you get a pump, but if you're looking for performance, you don't want a pump. You don't want something that's going to congest the muscle so it can't work as hard. You know what I mean? So again, the idea of a pump, there is a purpose for the pump. I trained with BFR bands on my legs this morning. I know, but you're not using these and wanting to be a power lifter. You're not using these and wanting to be a CrossFitter. A CrossFitter will tank with nitric oxide products because he doesn't or she doesn't need a pump that's going to stop them from getting a couple extra reps out because their muscles are engorged.
I never saw.
Just think critically for a second. From an evolutionary perspective, a pump is disaster. Oh, crap. I can't run fast now. This lion's going to get me because my muscles are cramping up. Think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I never saw it improve my numbers. I can't say I think they decreased, but numbers are numbers. They don't lie. And so, no performance enhancement combined with no real muscle growth equals I'm going to pass. So
the next question comes from Craig Castingway. He says, so it's obvious that you have a lot of experience with these various supplements, especially ephedrine. But you're also 50 years old. How do you reconcile still using these? I guess because you're old, he feels like you're reckless.
A fair question, because on the surface, frequent use of powerful stimulants looks, at my age, I'm sure to most people, it looks irresponsible. But I have several reasons for doing so. Now, the big objection that I've heard is blood pressure, right? And you get a big increase in blood pressure. Well, the reality is I either don't get any increase whatsoever, or it's marginal, very marginal with me. I honestly feel that most of that it's simple. My body's used to it. It's had ephedrine almost every day for 30 years. Now, if you give 50 milligrams of ephedrine and 200 to 400 of caffeine to a newbie who's never had it before, then yeah, I would imagine you'd see a rather large increase.
Do you feel the ephedrine? Okay, so here's some questions. When do you take the ephedrine? First thing in the morning, a half hour, an hour after you wake up? When do you take it?
I take it about, I would say, mid-afternoon.
Okay, so you've been up a while before you even take it.
Yeah.
Okay, how much do you take now?
I'm down to 35 milligrams and 300 to 600 of caffeine.
Okay, and do you feel it when you take it?
A little bit, not a lot.
Like you used to. Not like you used to.
No. I mean, that was when you're a virgin with ephedrine, you really feel it. You really feel it. But
some people get anxiety and freaked out when they first take it.
Yeah, and that's true, I think, of any stimulant, right? That they put in their body. It's not for everybody. But my issue is with the government and what they did with it. And so, yes, I'm a study of one, but there are many factors that make it safe for me. So one of those is, I understand I normally have very good blood pressure, usually around 120 to 80. At my last physical, it was 108 over 68. So it's not like I'm starting out with borderline blood pressure and then boom, it's over the moon because of ephedrine. I start out usually at a lower number than most people, and that brings me up to quote unquote normal. The other thing that it does is I benefit from higher HDL levels because of it. And that's on largely a maintenance diet. Its effect, at least in studies, on a much lower calorie diet is quite a bit more pronounced. So, I also exercise some critical thinking on the subject. If it was really so bad for you, shouldn't I be dead by now? Or at least have one negative side effect?
35 years. Yeah, you'd think so, right?
Yeah, right. After all those years. So now, if you wait around long enough, sure, something bad's going to happen to someone. But 3 decades? I mean, come on. I tend to think if I died in a car accident tomorrow, they're going to roll the SHR tapes of me saying I took ephedrine for 30 years and then say, look what it did to him. And
they're going to say that about me. I'm waiting. I'm not waiting to die. But the day after I die, everybody's going to say I died of anabolic steroid abuse.
Right. And so that isn't absurd as you think, because the government's puppet Rand Corporation was commissioned to study, quote unquote, study ephedrine. And one of the ephedrine fatalities that they included was a young man who, single car accident, was speeding, hit a wet patch, slammed into a tree and decapitated. He was unfortunately.
Yeah, but they're going to say that he had that accident because he was adrenalated from the ephedra.
Yeah.
But the one good thing that's really one of the good things that's come out of this whole COVID pandemic, scamdemic, is that people who used to trust the government before realize that the government is not trustworthy. We have hydroxychloroquine, ooh, bad, when Trump said, oh, no, it's bad, horrible. Ivermectin, ooh, bad, no, it's horrible. Now, all of a sudden, there's studies going, hey, it works.
Yeah.
And those studies existed back then, but the media and the government played games with people's lives. I don't think I can say this strong enough. And I'll tell you something else. Facebook's fact checkers, no one takes them seriously anymore. It's laughable. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg's ass has to be puckered. Like, we can't influence anybody. In fact, when we say something's bad, they immediately think it's good. Yeah, because you and the government, you're a bunch of friggin' liars, and most of you need to be hung for treason. Will it ever happen? No, it won't. It won't.
And certain parties have learned how to weaponize things like COVID. And ephedrine, for that matter. So, those are my major reasons for using it. Really, the biggest, I have one really important reason, or maybe several strung together. It enhances the quality of my life. Okay? I'm happier, I think faster, and I'm more productive. And yes, I'm quite healthy while I'm on it. So, I'll die with it in my system, I'm sure, and they can attribute it to it and do what they want then.
Yeah, you'll be 98 years old. You'll die of a major brain tumor, and they'll say, "Oh, he died from fucking." Oh, I'm sorry, I don't mean to curse. He died from ephedrine.
Right, it was the ephedrine.
Daryl Deemer says, "I heard you say you haven't lifted weights since Christmas 2020, instead performing all calisthenics. So, in 6 months without weights, how much muscle and size would you say you've lost?"
In one word, none. None. And that is per not just my scale weight, right? Total mass, but also tape measurements of, all of my major muscle groups. And yes, some of the major lifts. Frankly, I wasn't expecting to lose much. Why? I've been this size for over 20 years now, maybe 30. And that is one of the big reasons. The other one is I'm doing a lot higher volume with this body weight stuff than when I was doing weight training. So when I was lifting weights, I always favored heavy weights, low reps, tended towards lower volume. That mix always made me stronger. I got bigger, and it was less wear and tear as I aged, right, on my joints. Now, with the calisthenics that have been going on since the day after Christmas last year, I'm doing a ton more volume, and I feel fuller. That is a subjective thing, yes. But, the calisthenics program that I'm on and will be on for at least the next 6 months is much, much higher volume. I used to perform, let's say, 5 sets of 5 on squats or deadlifts. And then I would do, for my assistant stuff, I do 1 or 2 hard sets of 6 to 10 reps. And I may have played with the rep speed or other things, but that was pretty much it. 50, if you do the math, 50 to 75 reps per workout. The phase I'm in now, this bodyweight stuff on legs, it kicks off with 2 sets of 40. So there's 80 reps right off the bat. And by the time the workout ends, I've done an easy 350 plus reps for all my leg work. So looking at it from a reps volume perspective, I've quadrupled, right, my volume. And I'm sure that's having a major effect in helping to keep some of the size.
Volume is the key to having big muscles, not strong muscles.
Yeah.
Okay. Doug Brignoli points this out. That's why I've shifted away from the way I used to train, and I will do one movement for 20 minutes straight with very heavy weight and just 5 reps, but I'll bust out 18 sets with 5 reps. Wow. So you have the weight for strength, you have the rep pattern for strength, but you have the volume for hypertrophy. And I find it's working for me, and I'm 63 years old. If I can continue to grow muscle, then that's magic as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, there are certainly lots of upsides, a couple of downsides. Most of the upsides are your focus and concentration becomes improved. I mean, you can't do single leg movements and not have to focus, right, and concentrate harder. Yeah, you could say that about weights, but it's magnified many times over with calisthenics. Downside sides I've noticed are, let's say, number one, you don't need to get as up for these workouts, right? There's very little, there's very little risk that I'm not going to complete, one of a set with a certain amount of weight.
Well, and when you have to get up for a workout, like today, I didn't want to. I had to train legs, and I knew it was going to be hard enough, but I didn't have that feeling this morning walking into the gym like I'm going to crush this. I was like, man, I just like to coast through this workout today. That's really how I felt. And when you don't have to be up for the workout, your probability of injuring yourself goes down to like 0, because that's when you injure yourself. When you get yourself to the point where you need to push hard, you got to do something heroic today. Boom, and you hurt something.
Yeah, and I mean, it's difficult when you're young to top yourself, right, continually from last time. And that's, you can imagine how much more difficult that gets as you get older. It doesn't mean that you don't go in there and work your tail off. I mean, I'm more drained than I was on most of my weight workouts. You don't get the same dopamine hit after, let's say, successfully completing all 5 reps with, you're supposed to get 400 for 5. And man, when you were headed into the gym, there was some trepidation that you weren't going to get it. But when you do get it, you're over the moon, right? With body weight stuff, it's not quite like that. It is the feeling of having a good workout when you're done and knowing that you've taken another step towards your goals.
Let's get a question from a live listener real quick. We have a couple Kratom questions that seems to be popular. So the first one is from Tommy D. He says, you mentioned in the past episode that you temporarily cycle off Kratom. Is there anything you have recently stumbled across that replicates Kratom, both dopaminergic and pain-relieving effects? He says, for many years, I've looked yet to find an effective Kratom alternative. What do you think?
The answer to his last question is no. The honest answer is no. If there was, we'd be hearing about it. More people would be buying it. Well, his first question, I'm sorry. There were 2 in there.
Well, it just says you cycle off of Kratom. Is there anything you've recently stumbled across that replicates Kratom with dopaminergic and pain-relieving effects?
Not yet. Yeah, and believe me, I'm out there looking, right? Because this is a hot topic for a lot of my subscribers. The thing with Kratom is it does so many things well, and seemingly, opposite things, such as, it chills you out, most Kratom anyway, but yet paradoxically, at the same time, your mind is, you want to do something. Now, that doesn't need to be physical. It can be, but it can also be reading, writing, researching.
Cleaning your house. I have a friend who takes Kratom when he has to clean his house. He says he doesn't feel like cleaning his house on a Saturday morning, but he takes a little Kratom, and next thing you know, he not only feels like cleaning his house, but it becomes enjoyable, and he moves so quickly that it gets done in half the time. And I thought to myself, that's amazing. Every housewife should be taking Kratom.
It does so many things well. It's hard to find a suitable alternative. I think if we find it, it will be a combination of products.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's going to be a couple of things together.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see here. We got under the too much information file. Dylan Gutro says cyclic dextrin gives me awful diarrhea. Make a note of that if you train with Dylan and he has it in his post-workout drink. Get him home quickly.
And it's usually not cheap, so you're going to pay for that privilege.
Diarrhea. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got lots more questions. Stick around. You're watching or listening to the Blueprint Power Hour. Go to CoachRobRegish.com to learn more. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Attention meat lovers. I've discovered a snack with just 2 ingredients, meat and salt. That is so tender and delicious, you almost can't believe it. That's right, no soy, sugar, or other crap. Our partner, Carnivore Snacks, nailed it with these mouth-watering snacks. They have a variety too. Ribeye, pork loin, leg of lamb, and more, all sourced here in the USA from regenerative farms. Claim your superhuman offer from Carnivore Snacks today at shrnetwork.biz/snacks. That's SNAX. Use the code superhuman for 15% off your first order, plus a free 2-ounce pork loin. Knoll Creek Hemp Company's Delta 8 soft chews are the premier Delta 8 product on the market today. Knoll Creek's Delta 8 is produced from high-quality hemp-derived CBD oil, and soft chews are manufactured using proprietary nano-emulsification technique that ensures the Delta 8 soft chew will timely deliver the desired effects cleanly and consistently from piece to piece. In a space where at least 70% of the products fail to meet label claims and where most users of conventional hemp products are left disappointed, Knoll Creek's Delta 8 soft chews are a product you can trust. Visit shrnetwork.biz/Delta8. That's DELTA and the number 8, and use the code SHR20 to get 20% off your first order today. Every day, there's a new wellness trend. Eat that. Do this. Avoid those. How do you know where to start or who to trust? Inside Tracker helps you cut through the noise by analyzing your blood, your DNA, your lifestyle, and your fitness tracker to provide you with a science-backed, trackable action plan on how to live, age, and perform better. Personalized, one-size-fits-one recommendations to help you optimize you. For a limited time, Inside Tracker is offering Superhuman Radio listeners 25% off the entire store. Go to shrnetwork.biz/inside tracker, INSIDETRACKER, to save 25% off. Change begins on the inside.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
If there is one mineral you should be worried about not getting enough of, it's magnesium. Magnesium is the body's master mineral, powering over 300 critical reactions, including detoxification, fat metabolism, energy, and even digestion is influenced by the presence of magnesium. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about a new magnesium product I've been taking now called Magnesium Breakthrough. It's the ultimate magnesium supplement, easily the best I've ever seen or experienced. With all 7 forms of magnesium, I was able to arrange an amazing deal for my audience, and I guarantee it's the best deal available on this product. Seriously, with volume discounts combined with our custom 10% coupon code SHR10, you can save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. And I promise that this deal is only available on this specific website, magbreakthrough.com/SHR. You won't find that deal on Amazon or even on the company's own website. Go to magbreakthrough.com/SHR and use code SHR10 to save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. Hey, this is Carl Lenore. Superhuman Radio is the longest running health, fitness, and anti-aging podcast in the world, going into our 16th year of continuous production. If you have a product that you think would appeal to the Superhuman Nation, we can get you on the air quickly and inexpensively to help promote your brand. Join the ranks of some of the largest and most successful companies in the world who know how great it is to be affiliated with Superhuman Radio. Contact Dan Kapitsky today. That's DAN.KOPITZKE at superhumanradio.net to learn more.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where we use oxygen for the power of good.
Hey, welcome back to the Blueprint Power Hour, where you get to ask your questions and we get to tap dance for you. Let's see. We'll go back to the pre-sent in questions, and then we'll go back to the live questions. So we'll get everybody's questions answered. This one comes from John. I thought it was Cena. It's Sierra. I was like, oh, he listens to the show. That's pretty cool. What kind of leg routine would you advise for a 6'4" male who really needs to grow his legs? I've heard you talk about box squats before. I got to be honest with you. If you're 6'4" and you have, those long femurs, you're probably never, ever going to really be happy with your legs because what you have in your mind are the legs of a guy who's 5'8" that look like turkey drumsticks. And us tall guys, we just don't get those quads. It's just, I I shouldn't say he can't, but you're going to have to really do some heroic stuff to get those kind of quads like these shorter guys do.
Yeah, I have some experience here. I trained a truck driver. God, 6'4". He had the best grip I ever experienced, but he had those long legs. Very difficult to develop, as you point out, Carl. And as good as they are on a number of levels, box squats would not fit my recommendation for leg hypertrophy. For strength, incredible. Hypertrophy, it's a different story. For that, traditional squat work works much better. The issue, of course, is always depth, right? Or more specifically, cutting depth when the weights get heavy. So in the past, you could use spotters, hopefully were honest, that gave you feedback. And, did you go low enough? These days, everyone's got a phone and with a camera in it, so you can record it if necessary. And recreate the crime scene, so to speak. Most people know what squatting deep enough looks like, and they know when they're cheating themselves. What they don't realize is just how bad it looks when they are cutting depth, and they actually see it for the first time. It's a lot of people have deluded themselves into thinking I squat parallel. No, a matter of fact, it's not even close.
Hell, a lot of people have deluded themselves into thinking I squat 405 pounds.
Right.
You're not. You're not. That's not a. You're not squatting 405 pounds if you just go down 2 inches and then return back up.
Right.
I know. And I remember. I remember when I first started squatting heavy. It's scary. Like, oh my God, if I get down too far, I may lose control and get stuck down there. That means you are going too heavy. It's like if you're somebody who goes, oh yeah, I can't go all the way down with this, then you're not ready to squat that weight.
Yeah, and that's 100% spot on. And it's tough to swallow for the ego, right? But long story short, I would recommend squatting in a rack with the safeties, of course. Film it and make sure that the crease of your hip is at least parallel with your knee. If it isn't, lower the weight and go lower on the squats. Now, in terms of programming, 5 sets of 5 it's excellent for either newbies or advanced men. Just make sure, again, your depth is consistent on every rep. Small weights become large weights over time if you have a little bit of patience. Never forget that overtime part. It is a necessary part of the process. For those that still can't bring themselves to go low enough, and there are, I've seen them. The Iron Mind hip belt that I talk about all the time is a big part of the solution for them. If you set that up right, it is a great audible cue. Given every time the weight touches the floor or the ground, you will know precisely, all right, how far down you went. And if you set it up correctly, you'll go down to at least parallel. For assistance work, I always favor the leverage squat over everyone else. For some reason, they love the leg press.
Because you look more impressive leg pressing 10 plates on each side. People are like, oh man, I'm leg pressing 1,000 pounds. And well, not really 1,000. It's probably a portion of 1,000 pounds. Maybe it's more like 700 or 600 pounds. And when you got 600 pounds on your back, it's 600 pounds. You're not squatting it. You know what I mean? So
right.
Yeah.
Right. Much better movement, in my opinion. Depending upon how much gas you have left, I used to do 3 sets of ladders. So 5 reps, 4, 3, 2, 1. Repeat that 2 more times. Okay. That set and rep spread it's a sneaky way to get a lot of volume in. That adds 45 more reps to your squat volume with virtually none of the dangers of the leg press, one of which, contrary to popular belief, is your lower back.
Mm-hmm. Right. But let's address that. If your ass is coming out of the seat as the platform comes closer and closer to you, you're doing it wrong. And you are going to end up with lower back problems, because what's happening is, as the platform is coming towards you, you don't really have the leg strength to keep it from moving too fast. So what you do is you lock your legs and then you bring your butt out of the chair and roll your hips forward to create the illusion of another 3 or 4 inches of movement. But what you're doing is you're going against the natural curvature of the lumbar spine, and those discs will pop out if that spine straightens out too far.
It's also a great way to jam up your IT band, as I found. Look, the more I did it and the older I got, the worse my opinion was of it. I would certainly forget it unless it's the only other, movement that you can perform. Actually, I'd opt not to do it, period.
Pull yourself, if you're going to do leg presses, pop your butt out in the back. And some people put a rolled up towel in their lumbar area to force them to sit properly. And then reach down and grab the pad that you're sitting on and pull yourself down and back into the seat. And your butt should not move. If the platform is coming down to you and all of a sudden you feel like you have to lift your butt out of the seat and roll your hips forward to let it keep coming, stop there.
Yeah.
Not everybody's built the same. This is true with the squat. Not everybody's built to squat ass to ankles.
Yeah.
Not everybody's built. If you have a butt wink, you know what a butt wink is, Rob? You ever see somebody who squats, they come down, then all of a sudden there's this like hitch movement and their butt folds under and under. And then when they come back up, they have to kind of recenter the bar and push back. If you squat like that, stop. Don't go down that far where your butt starts to wink, because all you're doing is you're shifting weight at the moment that your spine is the most vulnerable. Not a good idea. Not a good idea.
Yeah, no, that's all very good advice. The final movement I would work when you're working legs would be the step up. Now, it's very demanding, but if you can get through, and these can be just body weight or holding, heavy dumbbells. It's completely up to you. If you can work your way through 4 sets, 10, 8, 6, 6, and you do the math, the 5x5, the 3 sets of ladders, and this 10, 8, 6, 6, you will have a leg workout with an accumulated volume of 100 reps. For most people, they know after maybe 2 workouts, they know if that's too much or they know if they need more. And so that's how I have people do it. And they make great progress, although those 3 movements are extremely demanding. You won't need to do cardio if you do those step ups with enough weight or fast enough. Yeah.
We're going to get some listener comments and questions. And then when we take our next commercial break, let's do this. I got an idea. Let's answer some of these questions first. Slick Willie says, last week I was doing spider curls at the end of a back workout. Is that the ones where you hang? You're laying flat and your arms are hanging and you're doing curls? I don't know what a spider curl is. I felt something pop, and I think I have a torn or partially torn bicep tendon. Seeing an orthopedic doc today. Any insights into this? First of all, was there any blood pooling or black and blue? If there was no blood pooling and no black and blue the day after, then chances are you didn't tear anything. The pop could have been a variety of things. It could have been a joint dislocating for a moment and relocating. It could have been sometimes tendons get caught on the wrong side of a track and they pop back into the track. If you're doing a movement that is, how should I say it, is putting a lot of challenges to a multi-joint, like the elbow, the shoulder, the wrist. So sometimes tendons get out of place and they pop back in, and it's a snap. It's a loud snap. But if there's no blood pooling and there's no black and blue, you probably didn't you didn't tear anything. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, if it's the movement, I think it is, it's also referred to as the preacher curl, maybe with a little more rounding to the pad. I never liked that movement. I didn't like it because of the, leverage, I think you'd call it, put on the joints. A spider curl is one where you're laying facing an inclined bench.
So your chest is against it instead of your back. Your arms are hanging off, and you're doing curls from that hanging position.
Well, I don't think that's as onerous to the joints. That movement, in my mind, is probably best suited to like a dumbbell hammer curl. But I would concur with most of your statements. One thing I would check is, in the last 6 to 8 weeks, have you added any volume? I've noticed a trend, let's call it, for those individuals that add some of them, 20, 25% bump in volume. And then the next thing you know, it's too much and something goes. Now, it's great that he's getting it checked out, right? So we're going to have a diagnosis soon. I would say after that point, let's re-strategize here next week, get the diagnosis, and maybe go through some things that can really help him.
So he updated. He says that I'm correct about the movement, and he said no bruising. So you didn't tear anything. You can't tear a muscle belly. You can't evolve an attachment off of bone without blood, without bleeding. So, but and the other thing I was going to say is, looking at this movement, I don't think you could go heavy enough with this movement to actually tear. Like I tore my bicep. It's called the break. No, not brachial. It's the bicep. It goes under the front head of the shoulder. It's the bicipital tendon.
Yep.
And so as a result, the outer head of this bicep is all the way down here in the middle instead of back up here where it used to be. And I was rowing very, very heavy weight, and I felt the tearing. And I've, torn hamstring attachments, and they pop, but they pop loud. Like even people next to me heard it. Mm-hmm. And my whole leg was black and blue the next day. So I don't think you tore it. I really don't. I think that, but because of the way that movement is, when your shoulders are out, your arms are out, the this tendon that runs along the muscle from the bicep underneath the shoulder has a groove. It actually has a groove that it fits in. And like pronating your wrist like that and doing curls like that, you may have just felt it popping back in, which is very painful, by the way, especially when you have a lot of weight on it. I don't think you tore anything. I really don't. That's my bet. So let's see what the doctor says.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Okay, I got to go to Facebook to look and see, because when people comment on the Superhuman Nation page, their names don't show up for some reason. They're not allowing their security settings to show. So one of these questions is actually from Kirkland Morletti. Let's see who the other one is. Stelio. So we'll go to Kirkland's question first here, because that's the first in order. I recently listened to Francis Holloway talk about many things that his group has been measuring, but one thing stuck out to me. This group observed that unenhanced athletes seem to top out at a muscle to bone mass ratio of 5.2 to 1. Interesting. Do you guys feel that increased bone mass would allow for the same ratio to hold, increasing total muscle potential? If so, what are some methods of supplements that you would look into to increase bone mass? Nothing increases bone mass like physically loading the body with weight. Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a study that compared HRT in women, predominantly estradiol, to light squatting. And this was a clinical trial. It was like 22 weeks long. They gave one group of women HRT. One group was a control. They did nothing. They got nothing. And then the third group just got like 85 pounds on the bar and squatted 3 days a week. And then they did DEXA scans of their hips. And the group that did nothing actually saw a small bone loss over the 22 weeks. The group that got estradiol did not see any bone loss, but they didn't see any new bone creation. and the group that squatted saw new bone creation, which is the best of all.
Yeah.
Nothing, it could be that athletes who use drugs train harder, and because they handle more weight, their bone density increases dramatically, even more so than a natty who's training. Just because it's a much more aggressive training regimen. Perhaps we don't know that. We have to look at who's doing what, and then what's happening to the skeletal system.
Well, yeah, beyond the heavy loading, it's arguable, right, whether or not you can expand the chest cavity from heavy pullovers and breathing squats and things like that. But his question brought something to mind that an old timer told me once. We were talking about chest expansion and whether or not it's possible, and if it is, what are the benefits? And he just looked at me and he said, the bigger the skeleton, the more meat you can hang off it. Mm-hmm. And he's not incorrect. Now, when it gets down to actual density of bone tissue, that's something that's remolding, right, occurring your entire life. So I think if the loading is there, the heavy loading, then the reason is there for that bone to be as stout as your genetics will allow. I'm not aware of any drug, supplement, what have you, that causes actual bone growth or or density, as he's putting it. Anything near, anyway, what loading does, heavy loading.
So Andre Cleanhouse says, the problem with the spider curl is that you start the movement with the bicep at a mechanical disadvantage. The tendon is parallel to the moving lever or the forearm. It's true. But I have a feeling that his doctor is going to tell him it was his bicipital tendon that is causing the problem, especially as we get older. For some reason, the bicipital tendon, the groove, the notch that it fits in, it becomes sloppy. It becomes, maybe the tendon gets looser as age, and it pops in and pops out, and it's painful as hell. I mean, you'll think, sorry about that. The show has a mind of its own. It wants to go to the next break, and we will take it there. But I have a funny feeling he's going to point to the bicipital tendon when you go to the doctor to talk to him about this. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We have more questions, and then later on, the blueprint tip of the day. Don't miss it. We'll be right back with more. Stay tuned. Knoll Creek Hemp Company's Delta 8 soft chews are the premier Delta 8 product on the market today. Knoll Creek's Delta 8 is produced from high-quality hemp-derived CBD oil, and soft chews are manufactured using proprietary nano-emulsification technique that ensures the Delta 8 soft chew will timely deliver the desired effects cleanly and consistently from piece to piece. In a space where at least 70% of the products fail to meet label claims and where most users of conventional hemp products are left disappointed, Knoll Creek's Delta 8 soft chews are a product you can trust. Visit shrnetwork.biz/Delta8. That's DELTA and the number 8, and use the code SHR20 to get 20% off your first order today. Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/White Oak book and use code SHR20 to save 20% off your entire first order. I need to share with you all a revolutionary new wearable technology called HapBee. HapBee allows you to enjoy the effects of caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, melatonin, and muscle relaxants without actually ingesting anything. Yes, really. They figured out the unique magnetic signature of each of these molecules and recorded them. Just put the HapBee on, choose the signal you want, and it starts projecting the magnetic signature of that molecule that you choose, like coffee for feeling alert. Go to hapbee.com/SHR. That's HAPBEE.com/SHR to learn more and unlock an $80 discount exclusively for the Superhuman Radio listeners. Is there something interfering with your happiness or ability to achieve your goals? BetterHelp can help. They will assess your needs and match you with a licensed therapist. This is not a self-help or crisis line. It's professional counseling done securely online. They have a broad range of experts and are available worldwide without having to wait in an uncomfortable waiting room. Get the help you need and start living a happier life today. Go to shrnetwork.biz/betterhelp. That's better, HELP, and receive 10% off your first month of counseling when you use the code SHR. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today.
Move over, superheroes. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Check it out, man.
You got your tasty pastry, huh?
Yeah, Jen just handed it to me. The cake style strawberry, baby.
I got the brown sugar cinnamon right here. I bought it for lunch today.
What do you limit yourself to?
One a day.
Oh, wow. I feel fortunate. I'm at 2 a day.
Yeah. No, I one a day. I feel like if I start eating more than one a day, I don't know. It's just I'll eat 5 in a row if I'm not careful. So I one, and I tore this page out of Elisa's book. She's like that. I'll say to her, "Hey, you want a protein bar?" "No, I already had one today." "Oh, like why can't you have 2?" And she said, I just try to stay to one of each of these. They're snacks, and I kind of adopted it, to be honest with you. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's go back to questions and comments. Okay, so this one comes from Stelio. For some reason, his name isn't coming through, but we know who he is. Ephedra plus caffeine plus aspirin plus yohimbine plus geranium extract equals ridiculous heart rate just walking, 140. Any synergistic additions to this stack? I'm down to my last expired bottle of geranium. Any place to buy more of that since it's banned? First of all, ephedrine, caffeine, and aspirin is all anyone ever needed. The yohimbine is horrible. Alpha yohimbine doesn't have the horrible clamminess and blood pressure raising effects, but it also may not be working. So there's that jury as well. And geranium extract, you just need ephedrine, caffeine, and aspirin. That's all you need for a fat loss stack, right? Am I right or wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. And remember, this is coming from Captain Ephedrine, okay?
Captain Ephedra. I like that.
What you don't so you can boil this down to 3 words. Don't do this. The particular ingredients all combined that you just heard are very bad news for the vast majority of people. Yohimbe, even alpha yohimbe, which, by the way, 90% of the quote-unquote alpha yohimbe on the market is just straight yohimbe.
Of course.
Yohimbe by itself can significantly raise blood pressure in most people. You add ephedrine, caffeine, geranium, whichever one. And what did he say? There was one other.
Aspirin.
Okay, so once you start combining 3 stimulants with a compound that magnifies dramatically those stimulants, it's bad news. Listen, I'm not going to tell you I haven't tried it. I have. It feels horrible. You don't wind up where you think you're going to. Oh, this is going to be a super stimulant, and it's dangerous. Not likely dangerous, not kind of dangerous. It's dangerous, and we don't need any adverse event reports to give the FDA more ammunition. It's that simple. I don't think, by the way, his geranium.
It is geranium. It comes from a plant. They said it was synthesized, and they took it off the market. Geranium extract.
Yeah, these things. If you're spending your days chasing down geranium, DMAA, and other obscure stimulants, something's wrong. Something's really wrong. Like you said, get ephedrine, caffeine, and aspirin, and have a good workout.
That's it. Stick with that. That's been the gold standard since 20 years now. 20 years. Mike Davies says, what's your opinion on trying to gain muscle after 50? It works. You can do it. I've been going to the gym for over 2 decades, but haven't been primarily focused on cardio. Or have been focused on cardio. Now I'd like to gain some decent size. Question is, how far can I push this when on TRT? Is it too late to start an eating plan and performance test dose 500 milligrams of testosterone for 8 weeks, twice a year before going back to TRT? I don't even think you need the 500. I'll tell you the truth, especially if you're in your 50s. But I'll explain later. What do you think, Mike? I mean, Mike.
Well, you're certainly able to build muscle after 50. I think there are studies even in people in their 90s that grew some sort of muscle, or at least increased their functional capacity. Is it as easy as when you're younger? No. Are you going to have to pay more attention to diet and cardio? Yes. But there are some big, strong 50-year-olds in my gym, right? I mean, I'm 51. I'm not huge by any means, but 225 at 6 feet tall. I move some pretty significant weights, and there are guys in there that lift heavier weights. TRT is not 8 weeks here, 12 weeks off, 8 more weeks. That's cycling, and doctors are not going to be a party to that. They're not going to risk losing their medical license. I would get on TRT. It would be a dose certainly less than 500 milligrams. I think 200 milligrams a week is perfectly fine for what you need and will assist in the muscle building process. I say assist, and by that, I don't want that to be over, construed, I guess you call it. It's not magic. Same thing we said last week. It takes everything. It takes you doing everything else right, especially the fundamentals of training and diet. So brush up on those. And if you're not sleeping, then absolutely get that CBD that you were talking about. And that's it. You can build muscle. You can build muscle after
the same way you build muscle when you're young, you build muscle when you're old.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna be on a TRT, then you're already optimized to do what young people do. Your diet has to be spot on. Look, if you missed last week's show, and I don't know that you did, I put up my most recent blood work, which is almost 4 weeks ago now, where I was taking 500 milligrams a week of test, and my total testosterone was 4,700 and something. Now, I'm down at 250 milligrams a week, and I'm training just as hard as I did before. I don't notice any difference. My body didn't need all that extra testosterone. The reality is, it wasn't doing anything with it. It wasn't doing anything special that it's not doing with 250 a week right now.
Right.
The real magic is, and this is where older guys get stuck, in my opinion. By the time you're 50 years old, you got a lot going on in your life. The real difference between youth and older isn't that the body responds differently, but a young guy, what has he got to do all day long? Maybe he's working a job at FedEx Kinko's, and he eats and he drinks and he goes to sleep, and life is very easy. When you're 50 years old, you got a lot going on. You got relationships and houses and all this other stuff. it becomes harder to be narrowly focused on yourself. But that's what it takes. It takes you to be narrowly focused. Food prep is your friend. Prepare all your food days before so you don't have a reason to cheat or miss a meal. Don't miss a meal. Eat every 2.5 to 3 hours. They can be small meals. Just make sure you have your requisite 30 grams to 35 grams of protein, high quality protein in that meal. Train hard. Train in the morning so that you can eat all day and feed the training. And make sure your sleep is spot on. Make sure you're really getting good restful sleep. If you're snoring, if you wake up multiple times to pee, that's not going to help you reach your goal, because you can build all the muscle you want. There's plenty of 60 and 70-year-old bodybuilders out there, regardless of drugs. Drugs don't do anything if you don't do the work.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true. Those are excellent points. Time and energy, huge. I was hell-bent on building a lot of muscle in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
and,
like
and
that.
you did. And you did.
Right. And I did. But I'm not like that now. And it's a lot easier in your 20s when your obligations are not nearly as many as they are in your 50s.
Slick Willie says before he injured himself doing his spider curls, he happened to have a DEXA scan and an in-body scan, which used bioelectrical impedance analysis. DEXA says 18% body fat, in-body said 17. That's good. You're in good shape. That's great. This is obviously, I don't say obviously. See, it just says Facebook user. So I have to go over here and look on the post to see if I can find it again, which I can't. But anyway, it's either Stelio or Kirkland Willetti. Thank you. I always wondered if there were contraindications. I take this stack once every 2 weeks. It's Stelio on water fasted days. It's all I can handle at the minimum dose. Yeah, I wouldn't take Yohimbine, Stel. I wouldn't take Yohimbine. I've taken it a couple times. I don't like it. It doesn't make me feel good. Last one, Mike Davies. I have plenty of time at the moment, luckily, and going to the gym 3 to 4 days a week. Good points. Thank you for your advice. Okay. Last via Facebook Messenger from Walt Well. This was in reference to our discussion on Kratom last week. He said, sorry, but Rob is so off on Kratom. Daily use in the 5-gram range is very tough withdrawal for most people. I really like your show, but ignoring proven side effects of Kratom is the opposite to harm reduction. This is coming from someone who just got off a 1-year daily use. No hate, man. Keep up the good work.
Well, Walt's not the only one. You had company, Walt. People that called and emailed me and said, hey, man, it is addictive, or at least it is for me. And I think that is maybe the crux of the issue. First off, it doesn't help that when I hear Kratom, it really sets me off, because every minute and dollar the government is spending chasing Kratom, they could have been taking, drugs that really kill people like opioids, fentanyl off the street. But having said that, he was right. Just because I can cold turkey it and, after almost a year of daily use, and I'm in my 2nd or 3rd month now of not, just because I can do that doesn't mean everyone can. And so it's an individual thing. I think it's fair to say some of us, like me, have very addictive personalities. For whatever reason, it didn't show itself on this. Also, there are people that are in extreme amounts of pain, right, that use Kratom for just that purpose. When they come off, their life is misery from the time their feet hit the floor and they get out of bed in the morning. I don't have that. I'm a blessed man, believe me, I know it. But I don't have that. So for me to say it's as easy to cold turkey as, caffeine, you're right. I should have said it can be addictive for a number of reasons. Where I really take issue, and not with any of the listeners, with the government, by saying kratom's an opioid, they are suggesting in the public's mind that kratom is just as dangerous and addictive as opioids. Now, if it really is that dangerous and that addictive, where are the bodies? What hospital can I go to where kratom overdoses are flooding the ER? And the big one, right? It's not, can it be addictive? Yes. Anything that feels good can be addictive. Is it addictive for me? No. Does that mean it's going to be that easy for you to stop? No. Again, I guess I take more issue with the government than I do anything else when they try to equate it to an opioid. So
we're going to take our last commercial break. We've gone through all the questions. Thanks to all of you who watch live and participate. When we come back, we have the blueprint tip of the day. So stay tuned. Attention meat lovers. I've discovered a snack with just 2 ingredients, meat and salt. That is so tender and delicious, you almost can't believe it. That's right, no soy, sugar, or other crap. Our partner, Carnivore Snacks, nailed it with these mouth-watering snacks. They have a variety too, ribeye, pork loin, leg of lamb, and more, all sourced here in the USA from regenerative farms. Claim your superhuman offer from Carnivore Snacks today at shrnetwork.biz/snacks. That's SNAX. Use the code superhuman for 15% off your first order, plus a free 2-ounce pork loin. Knoll Creek Hemp Company's Delta 8 soft chews are the premier Delta 8 product on the market today. Knoll Creek's Delta 8 is produced from high-quality hemp-derived CBD oil, and soft chews are manufactured using proprietary nano-emulsification technique that ensures the Delta 8 soft chew will timely deliver the desired effects cleanly and consistently from piece to piece. In a space where at least 70% of the products fail to meet label claims and where most users of conventional hemp products are left disappointed, Knoll Creek's Delta 8 soft chews are a product you can trust. Visit shrnetwork.biz/delta8. That's DELTA and the number 8, and use the code SHR20 to get 20% off your first order today. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Is there something interfering with your happiness or ability to achieve your goals? BetterHelp can help. They will assess your needs and match you with a licensed therapist. This is not a self-help or crisis line. It's professional counseling done securely online. They have a broad range of experts and are available worldwide without having to wait in an uncomfortable waiting room. Get the help you need and start living a happier life today. Go to shrnetwork.biz/betterhelp. That's better, HELP, and receive 10% off your first month of counseling when you use the code SHR. Every day, there's a new wellness trend. Eat that, do this, avoid those. How do you know where to start or who to trust? Inside Tracker helps you cut through the noise by analyzing your blood, your DNA, your lifestyle, and your fitness tracker to provide you with a science-backed, trackable action plan on how to live, age, and perform better. Personalized, one-size-fits-one recommendations to help you optimize you. For a limited time, Inside Tracker is offering Superhuman Radio listeners 25% off the entire store. Go to shrnetwork.biz/inside tracker, INSIDETRACKER, to save 25% off. Change begins on the inside.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. We're ripped and we're ready.
Welcome back. So what is the blueprint tip of the day, Rob?
Tip of the day is, I guess you'd say, why muscle matters, really matters. So last week I picked up a very distressing voicemail from my dad, who, if you recall, is just back from a Boston hospital trying to recover his sight. So in this incredibly weak voice, he asked me if I would pick up some bottled water and paper towels, right? Because he was running low on them, and to leave it on the steps. I said, sure. So I hopped in my car and I ran that errand. When I got to his place, I called him from the driveway and I asked if it would be easier to bring them, these things through the garage. He said, sure, you can leave them right in front of my car. And I said, Dad, are you home? He said, yeah. I said, good, I've got a gift for you. So what I actually brought him a tasty pastry to show him how it's possible to have treats, even on a low carb diet that's trying to control his diabetes. And he kind of, in a wavering voice, he said, okay. Now, I knew something was up, but I wasn't sure what yet. I figured he didn't want me to see how bad his blindness thing was. I was wrong. As I stacked that third pallet of water bottles, I heard the door open and I looked to my right and I was horrified at what I saw. His forearm reached around for a switch on the garage wall, just his forearm. But I'm telling you, that was all I needed to see. It was emaciated, the kind of frail that you only see when somebody's got, right, literally 1 foot in the grave. I know he was in the hospital, okay, for a few days, but it wasn't a few weeks and it wasn't a few months. As the rest of him came into view, I tried not to let on about how shocked I was. I think ultimately, though, he knew. Now, he had told me he dropped 10 to 12 pounds without trying. And so I asked a few questions and they had him on a low carb diet for 2 weeks. I said, Dad, that's it. But this was more than 10 to 12 pounds, and it certainly wasn't fat that he dropped. I'm a pretty good guesser when it comes to body weight, and he looks to have lost an easy 20, maybe even 30 pounds. And now we're talking about a guy who's only 180, maybe 190 at 5'9". He never had any noticeable muscle, but whatever was there is gone now, completely gone. I stressed the importance of eating enough fat because they put him on a ketogenic diet and upping his protein. But, I'm sure it went in one ear and out the other like it always does. I never looked at my dad as a particularly, robust physical specimen. I had friends when I was little that certainly did. They thought their dad was Superman. They thought their dads were invincible. These were physically impressive men who could seemingly handle themselves or anything the world threw at them. Not my dad, which for me made this all the more disturbing for some reason, right? You would think if you think of your dad as Superman and then you see him as, in the state that he was, that it would be worse. But it wasn't. It was worse for me because I saw a normally weak man, physically weak, become even weaker. And when you don't start with much muscle, you can't afford to lose much, right? I don't want that for you. I don't want it for me. I want you loaded up with muscle going into old age, which means building as much as you can now, regardless of your age. Because sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle tissue, truly is the fast lane to the cemetery, right? I have made, God knows I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but pursuing maximum muscle wasn't one of them. In fact, it's turned out to be, next to marrying my wife, the smartest decision that I've ever made. So this is no young man's passing fancy. At some point, everyone is put into a position where muscle is life. There is a very clear correlation. The medical community themselves will tell you this, a very clear correlation between lean body mass, muscle, and longevity. The muscle you're building today, it needs to last a lifetime. And the more you maximize, I think, what your genetics allow, the longer and the better you will live, irrespective of other causes. Last point I want to make. Do not ever let anyone tell you that you're wasting your time with this bodybuilding stuff. I've heard it from more than my dad. Because in the end, virtually everyone who does this bodybuilding stuff, is going to benefit. And everyone that doesn't won't. And believe you me, they're going to regret it, because once your legs go, once they're, all of their muscle is gone, and you talk about time and energy, they may have a lot of time, but they don't have the energy to build muscle like you will in your 20s, 30s, 50s, whatever. They will only regret that they didn't do this bodybuilding stuff. So get on this today, because tomorrow is going to be here before you know it. Before you know it.
Good information.
Yeah.
I was recently thinking of a saying that I've coined over the years on this show, and that is stronger is younger. And
right.
I recite this to myself. I mean, I'm training again. I'm getting strong again. I'm putting on muscle again. I'm getting lean again. I've been here before.
You bet you feel good too again.
Well, yeah, and the reality is that with all of my injuries, my bad foot surgery, my left foot hurts me all the time. Except when I'm sitting. It doesn't hurt when I'm sitting, but when I'm standing, it hurts. And the reality is that I'm stronger this week than I was last week. And in my book, that means I'm younger, because we attribute strength, vitality to youthfulness.
Yes.
Old people aren't strong; they're frail. Old people aren't vital; they're weak. They're sitting. They're wasting away. If you're getting stronger, you're getting younger. Just remember that. Don't worry about how your face looks, or gee, my hair is so gray, my skin's starting to get saggy and wrinkly, because it does. It just does. The suit wears out. But pay attention to how strong you are and how strong you remain. Make that the goal, because there are so many good studies that show that the strength you carry equals longevity.
Yeah, and I've seen this issue from not just the bodybuilding perspective or the elder care perspective. When I worked in insurance, it was 3 straight years of long-term care, which is insurance for nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and visiting nurses and that sort of thing. And so I've seen the physical decline from onset to the game's over. And I'm telling you, the length of that process is predicated on the amount of muscle tissue that you carry into it.
And keep.
And
there's a study that actually shows that men to 65, beyond 65, and women to 60, those with the most muscle, when they turn 60 for women, when they turn 65 for men, live the longest. There's an actual study that shows that.
Yeah. And, the thing is, the medical community has been aware of this for a long time.
Yeah.
And the up until just recently, because of NASA's, mission to Mars or SpaceX's mission to Mars, the issue of sarcopenia has gotten just lip service. Now they're serious, because they got to send a crew to Mars. It's going to be years, right? a year, half year, or a year to get there, or whatever, some obscene amount of time. No gravity, no loading, no muscle. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so these guys, they'll leave the Earth robust and strong.
Right.
And then when they're like, okay, you got to get out and walk around on Mars. They're like, well, we can't walk. What do you mean you can't walk? I can't stand up anymore. My legs aren't strong enough to keep me standing up.
It's crazy, but that's where the research is. And it's kind of interesting to see what they've tried and all of the things that haven't worked. Ursolic acid, I could go on and on, but it looks like the best they can do is creatine and a lot of static holds and band work.
PEMF, pulse electromagnetic fields, were first used by NASA. There's a study showing it to keep muscle wasting and bone wasting under control while in the capsule.
Wow.
That pulse electromagnetic fields stimulate an anabolic response to both muscle tissue and bone. If you don't have a PEMF unit that you sleep with under your bed, you're missing out on opportunities to grow that you don't know about.
It's very interesting. It's a very
NASA's the one that did all the research on pulse electromagnetic fields and muscle wasting and bone wasting in space.
Yeah.
We did all that research, so it's legit. It's nobody trying to sell you something,
Amen. Amen.
CoachRobRegish.com is the website to go to learn more. Thanks for all your hard work today. Thank you to everybody who watches live, posts questions and comments, because you make the show so much better.
Yes.
It would not be as good without you guys, and I really want to thank everybody. And please share the show. Maybe somebody will learn something. You never know. All right, we'll see you tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio. Thank you for being here today.